On the edge of space, before time began, there was only the hubverse. Sprocketeers avenged clarity, they dismantled obscurity, they danced when the flywheel spun. Here, we bring you the stories and the journeys to becoming the HubSpot superadmin. In this episode, Mitch thanks his boxing coach. He outlines his data studio build, and he tells us how to wear a Bowtie Funnel. Welcome to the Becoming a HubSpot Superadmin podcast, powered by Sprocketeer, where we are championing the HubSpot Superadmin. With us today, we have Mitch Richards. He's running RevOps at Livingstone Group, and he's been a Sprocketeer since March 2022. Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Grant. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Before we started on, we are just chatting about where we're at, different continents, different countries, and even different beverages. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit. Before we do, first question, tell us about your favorite HubSpot tool and why that's your favorite.
Cool. So it would probably be like the reporting entity, particularly the custom reports builder. I would say in a previous role, it's saved my bacon on many occasions, Grant. And I think one of the reasons is that it was in quite a fast paced role where I had many different salespeople in different countries and different teams around Europe, just constantly saying, "Hey, I need a report that has this, and it, and I need it like tomorrow or yesterday or something like that." And I just got really good at writing reports really quickly in the custom tool builder, particularly when I needed to bring in different elements from different objects. So if I was doing some cross-object reporting around how many deal records are associated to which companies belonging to which teams around the world, so that they can see where the crossovers are. And I'm like, yeah, cool, no problem. I'll do that right away. And it in a way, I suppose I became a little bit of a victim of my success with it, because once the business got wind that I was quite good at writing reports quickly, all of a sudden I was just being asked to do it by more and more senior people, and it just sort of cascaded into that. Okay, well, now can you roll out HubSpot for the entire sales org across all of the countries in which we're present? And I'm like, oh, I didn't really come in to do that, but yeah, sure.
It's job security, Mitch.
It is, yeah, it is. That is true. Always make sure that you're irreplaceable, so that even if people don't like you, they're like, well, we can't get rid of them because no one else knows how to do this, and we need something to do reporting. So, I just think it's an interface.
Said, these take me so long, hours. Like, I can't even lay out the process. It takes me 2 minutes.
Do you know what? Like, I went out for a drink with my old boss last night. This is really, and like one of the first things he said to me was like, "Yeah, we got wind of that." Like, and he was like, "I kept your secret for you," but because I'd be like sitting there, be like, "Oh, yes, it's gonna take a couple of hours for me to get this from all these tables," and I'd like do the actual work in like 5 minutes, go and watch something on Netflix, have a sandwich, and then come back and do it to him. So just had a little bit of a laugh about that last night.
Okay, good kickoff to the podcast here, Mitch. What we want to do basically is we want to put kind of a stake in the ground for right now. We want to go back to where you started with HubSpot, and we'll talk about a couple things in between, and then we'll talk about the future. So give us a couple statements of Livingstone, what it is you're doing right now, and how you see your role currently.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, Livingstone's a really interesting business, actually. So I've only been there for about four months. They do software asset management for some of the world's biggest businesses. I didn't know such a thing existed, but essentially what it is the world's biggest companies use enterprise software, Microsoft, the SAPs, the Oracles, all these sorts of things. And it's really difficult to manage those estates if you've got like 200,000 people working for you. And there's this sort of there's this dichotomy between how much software I've bought, how much I've deployed in my environment, how much people are using, and actually whether or not I'm outside of my contractual obligations for that. And more often than not, businesses don't have a very, very clear idea of how that features. And what Livingston Group do is they go into these businesses and say, look, there are two things here. Yes, there is an opportunity to significantly reduce your expenditure on that software by renegotiating your contract so you've only got stuff that you need. And there is also this other huge looming spectre of identifying risk. If you are using software in a way that you're not contractually allowed to do, you could be hit with some significant overages and some significant unbudgeted cost. And for people in IT procurement and like senior IT, like that's a real problem, because if I'm not aware that one of my vendors is going to come in and say like, well, we're going to audit you and actually you now need to give us $100 million that you didn't bank on, like that's a serious problem. And Livingston are one such company that tries very, very hard to help businesses solve these problems. They're present in the United States and Europe, and I've been brought in as their first RevOps hire, actually. So,
congrats, man!
Thanks,
Fantastic.
mate. Yeah, it's a good place to be. And even before I started, when I sat down with the chief executive, to this guy called Chris Allen, actually, he was already evangelized to this idea of de-siloing everything and just having one platform that enables them to understand how we take someone from knowing absolutely nothing about this business all the way through to being this business's biggest advocate and renewing a service with them year after year after year. The only problem was that they knew that they wanted it, they just didn't really know how to do it. And like I've sort of developed this idea of using this thing called Bowtie Funnel methodology, which is a SaaS sales methodology that helps businesses to understand the equal weighting that they need to give from acquisition to retention. And I've specialized in building a set of tools and a methodology for taking that and just overlaying it across the lifecycle stages in HubSpot. And that's what I presented to them. I was like, look, this is what I do. I'd love to come and do it for you guys. And it sort of just clicked, and it was exactly what they wanted. And so I've been busy doing that since July. Started off in the realms of marketing and demand gen, working with the SDR team to help them understand and just have a little bit more coherence around their systems and processes. So one of the things I introduced quite early on was a pre-pipe that sits in front of the sales pipeline. And what that does is it sort of acts as a way for us to manage all of the different businesses that we want to prospect, but helps us to get all of our ducks in a row. I don't know if you use that expression in the US, but get everything that we need
ducks
ready.
In a row.
Lovely, like it. So that we can then have all of the information ready and have a real understanding as to whether or not they are now ready to start speaking to us about buying some products and services from us. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm also currently doing discovery sessions with the senior sales team to re-engineer their pipeline so that it fits in more with the Lord and Savior Kyle Jepson's idea of making each of those sales pipelines like a milestone, and actually having it very descriptive of like, you move a deal into this stage when this specific thing or these specific set of actions have been completed, and treating your pipeline like that, so that it's the way that Kyle describes it, which I always love, is like it's a framework that allows you to sell in the way that you want to, but in exchange for that, allows us to be able to report and forecast appropriately. So I always say to the sales guys, like, I only really care about 4 things from you guys. I care about what you're selling, who you're selling it to, how much you're selling it for, and when you reckon you're closing it. And that's all I ask them for. Right? And the dream is to allow that loose framework to just let them operate in and be comfortable and do what they do best, which is sell these services to large businesses.
It sounds, Mitch, like you're focused on doing a listening tour to see and understand what's going on, but also while you're doing that, help frame the direction that you're going with the organization based on that bow tie framework overlaid on the stages that you said.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
exactly it.
You're not saying, I'm going to go fix everything. Because
you can't fix everything.
As you very well know, one, that definitely won't work. And two, you can't know everything, let alone fix it all. So kudos to you for going around and talking with people first and hearing about what they're doing, but also in the back of your mind, trying to show up with some value of, here's how I'd like to empower you to do better in this role. It sounds like it's just loads of fun. And the way you're talking about it, you're just lighting up.
It is, it is a lot of fun. And I sort of I view it very much as digital Lego in many respects. I love Lego. It's something that I've always enjoyed ever since I was a little kid. And building these ideas in HubSpot, I use another tool called Lucid Chart, which is sort of like my whiteboard, if you will, where I build out my pipelines and my workflows and things like that. And actually, that's a really, really good tip. Like, visualize what you're building in HubSpot before you build it, because after you've then done the inevitable thing and just procrastinated loads and not bothered writing your documentation, you've got something to come back to as a visual aid to then pull into your documentation to help you to write it, because you would have forgotten a lot of the stuff that you put together before doing that. So I'm so lazy with writing documentation, so I'll always do it all in Lucid Chart first, and then once I've implemented everything, come back and write my documentation afterwards with that as like the framework and guide. And it's saved, again, that's another thing that saved me a lot when it comes to taking your ideas and actualizing them, and then managing compliance, which is the trickiest part, and making sure that people are aligned to your processes and can keep working towards them and working within them.
Love to hear what you're doing now. So take us back then. What was your first HubSpot role? What were you doing? How did you get there? And then after that, we'll go into some in between. But what was the first thing you did when you were using HubSpot?
That's, I mean, how far back do you want to go? I never really intended to have a proper job. When I was a teenager, I was really into music, and my band were looking at signing a record deal that was offered to us when we were 15 and 16. We were on English TV playing and stuff, and so I was just like, oh, okay, well, cool. I don't really need to finish high school, so I don't have my. What do you call that? The high school diploma in America, the GED
diploma.
Yeah,
GED or diploma.
GED. Yeah, I actually
diploma, you can get
I don't have the British equivalent of a GED because I was like, I'm not going to need that. I'm going to play music for the rest of my life, and evidently that didn't work. So then the next thing I did was I got really interested in marketing, and so I got an entry level marketing job, and a lot of it was paper based. It was direct mail. It was things like that, and I was working for a kids charity, and a lot of it was direct mail. It was those sorts of things. It was sending out welcome packs and information packs to people, and I was like, man, this is costing a lot of money. And it's taking me a lot of time. So then I went to my boss and I said, can we have a go at like doing this with like some videos and emails instead? And I was like, well, yeah, we can test it. So then I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to try and deploy this with some videos that I made, roped in a couple of people who work for the same kids charity to star in the videos. One of which is now my wife. That's another funny story. Yeah, we have a 3-year-old daughter together as well. So that's that's one of those weird things. That happens in life, and so I did that, and the end result was that when we measured the retention rates from people receiving the paper-based stuff, which was quite expensive to produce and took a long time to get right, and also took a long time to try and work out and measure. When we compared that with people receiving the digital stuff, there was no difference in retention rates. They were all exactly the same. So actually, it made more sense to do it digitally, and so that was then sort of like the makings of the first sort of digitally deployed retention campaign. And so moved on from there and started getting more into digital marketing. And it was just churning out email campaigns in the same vein as churning out these these direct marketing campaigns. And I'm lazy. So I was like, look, I can't. I'm not spending my entire life like coming up with different like email campaigns and just churning them out. Like, why can't we do this as like a journey and like make it so that we've got like a brand new person, for example, we just design a journey for them, trigger those emails automatically, and boom, see what happens. And so I asked, and it's like, hey, look, can I go and do that? Because we've got this tech. It's called Optimove. It was like a marketing automation suite. So I went ahead and started deploying these things via automation. I was like, wicked, I've got so much more time now to like break down these things with marketing automation and understand the results in aggregate. And actually that's far more powerful than spending all this time trying to break down the results of email campaigns that are sent to different people on different days at different times to different things. And it's just a bit of a soup. So got into that. And then I left that role. Actually, technically I was fired from that role. And I then went to go and work for a venture builder called Glenn and Chalcott. And Glenn and Chalcott, this really, really awesome global business who own about 25 different digital businesses, all the way from like education technology through to fintech. They own a cricket team, 2 cricket teams actually now, and a record label as well, which you know, like spoke to me as a musician. So anyway, I went there to go and work in the go-to-market team, specifically as someone who knows about marketing automation. And they said, "You ever used HubSpot before?" And I'd heard of it, but I'd never used it. So I was like, yeah, love HubSpot. Absolutely awesome platform.
Love it.
I was just give me the job. Like, and they're like, oh, it's really good that you know your way around HubSpot. And I was like, yeah. So got in there, obviously never having actually used HubSpot before, and just like knowing what it was, and it was a bit orange and that. And so what I did was I got straight in there and I was like, right, look, I do actually need to learn how to use this so that they know that I'm not a blagger. I don't know if you use the word blagger, like fake it till you make it, like in the States. But yeah, anyway. So I got in there and I started checking out Kyle's certifications. And the first one I did was the sales software certification. And you know, and like this is my first introduction to Kyle Jepson. And I was like, I really, really like the cut of this guy's jib. He's just like he's kind of like a happy-go-lucky, like geeky guy, like similar energy to me, I think. And like he is, yeah. And so I was just like, wow, like I want to be like that with teaching people in this business how to use this tool. That's how I want to be. And so I did like 3 or 4 certifications back to back, and then. And I, whilst I was working with the different businesses in the portfolio to understand, at the time it was more theoretical stuff around like marketing automation as a concept rather than the actual tools, until I'd learned how to use the tools properly. And then a weird package turned up on my desk, Grant, and I was like, "Oh fuck, is this?" And so I opened it, and there was a handwritten note in it that said, "Mitch, congratulations on doing those 4 certifications back to back. That's really, really awesome that you've done it. Enjoy this t-shirt, Kyle." And I was like, fucking hell, Kyle sent me a t-shirt. And it was this like really, really, really cool HubSpot Academy t-shirt, like navy blue. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. I wore it to death. But I was like, oh, this is ace.
I love that you wore it out.
And like, and I actually I messaged Kyle earlier this year, and I was like, Kyle, like you did this to me, and I don't know if he was just saying it, but it was like, oh no way, I remember that. And I was like, oh, if you do, that's really sweet, that's really cool. So anyway, that was sort of like my first introduction to HubSpot. And to answer your question in a very long-winded way, the very first thing I did in HubSpot was my certifications. The very first thing I did in HubSpot was my certifications. And that gave me the grounding to use the platform well, I guess.
Marketing automation was kind of this concept that sounds like, Mitch, you fell into out of necessity. This is a thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing it on a repeating basis. I'm going to be doing it with so many people. Why can't I just automate it? So you build this thing. And then the job where HubSpot is going to be the platform on is now a tool that can do this for you. You're not having to cobble it together somehow with other tools. How fun that you had the practical experience of the need, and now you're on this platform that kind of gives it to you all in one. Did you
it's
during your interview, did you play him some music?
I did not. There was no call to, fortunately. So yeah. Well, probably for their sake more than anything. Like the music that I'm really into is progressive technical heavy metal. So yeah, I can't imagine they would have enjoyed me sat there just like, but yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
With the record companies, you never know, right?
Well, do you know what? Funnily enough, I
Yeah,
actually the record business within Blenheim Chalcott's portfolio. I then went on to be head of marketing and automation for a spell shortly before I left the business. So yeah, that was Like I ended
That's
up
fun.
getting to do what I wanted to do there anyway. And actually, the chief executive of that business, a guy called Conrad Withy, he was the one who turned me on to this idea of Bowtie Funnel. And he sort of like said, "Well, look, this is how we want to. This is how we've been told that we want to measure things. Our, the senior leadership team, the managing partners have said that they want us to all start using Bowtie Funnel. Like, how do we do that in HubSpot?" And that's when I had this epiphany. I was like, well, you can just overlay it onto those life cycle stages, and then you've got pipelines to do certain stuff. You've got a lead scoring model to do the pre-sales bit. You've got Service Hub to do the bit on the back end. And I was like, it just sort of fits. It's like I know there's been other people that I've spoken to. So Eamon Doheny, who works in sales in Dublin for HubSpot, someone that I've gotten quite friendly with. He was my account manager when I was at Blenheim Chalcott. I sort of told him that idea, and he said, "Well, that sounds." I'm not going to do an Irish accent because I don't, I can't do it. It'd be rude to. But he said, "Well, that sounds like the flywheel on steroids," and I was like, "It's exactly what it is." And then so that's the terminology that I started using. Like, it is the flywheel on steroids, and yeah. So yeah, that's it. Really,
I love that. Yeah. It does sound like as you progressed, there was just a tool in front of you that you were able to maybe use Lucid Chart on, right? Which is now, but you were able to really visualize mentally and take those business processes and translate them. That seems to be your superpower, which I'm saying you're not saying. I'm saying it, which is so cool to hear and see.
Yeah,
so
that's a really nice way of phrasing it.
Walk us through some of the milestones then. You did a really nice job of explaining getting to HubSpot. From then to now, what are some of the other things that you've done that as you look back, you say, I'm that was crazy that I did that, or I'm proud of that accomplishment?
Yeah, so I think a couple of different things. So I think the best thing about HubSpot for me is that obviously the internal function of it gets you most of the way, right? The pipelines and reporting get you most of the way there. There are instances when you need to pull in third-party applications if you're doing something a little more bespoke. Excuse me. And again, that's another great thing because it integrates with most things. And I think the thing that I was probably most proud of making once I've sort of figured out HubSpot, and I was thinking to myself, like, I am really, really good at this. So like, it's like pretty much the first thing. It's pretty much the first thing that I had the confidence to be like, I am really, really, really good at using this tool, and I love using this tool, and I want to teach everyone else to love this tool as much as I do. When I was at Instrumental, the business, the digital record label that Blenheim Chalcott was responsible for, they needed to do a thing whereby they were understanding the relationship between which of their A&R guys was signing the most successful tracks. And the way that they managed success was streams from Spotify and YouTube and things like that. But there was a disconnect in that, well, how do we then pair up this data that we've got here in HubSpot appropriately so we can then interface with our distributor to understand the relationship between which A&R person is generating the most streams. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, firstly, what we need to do is we need to convert each of those opportunities into separate sort of objects. And we actually ended up doing that with Monday, which is a project management system, which they were then using
Monday.com.
To get the other project management tools are available, of course. We use that to we use that to split out the ISRC codes, what's known as like the unique identifier for each track that was signed, and we use that as we use Monday.com as like a middle office, which they also use to manage uploading those tracks to the digital streaming services. So
Gotcha.
HubSpot data fed into there, created deal records in Monday.com, and then once the guys had split things out, those tracks then got uploaded to Spotify. I then used that data to interface in Google Data Studio and had two tables. One table, which we got from the distributors, which is all the streaming data with the ISRC codes. And then the other table consisting of the A&R manager who signed the track, which was data that came from HubSpot, against each other, so that we could then look at, okay, X A&R person signed these tracks, and this are the streams on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, whatever, over this period of time. I had a little bit of a help from their CTO because I didn't really know my way around Google Data Studio and BigQuery so we used BigQuery rather than G Sheets to manage the join of the tables. And so we did that, and then I made these kind of cool looking branded dashboards within Google Data Studio, using the feed from the HubSpot data. And I was like, wow, this is the most complex thing I've ever done. This is really, really cool. And so cool. It wasn't perfect. It had a lot of problems with it. It was slow to load. Some of the data was unreliable, but it gave them a basis for something, and it's like a skateboard which they could then take and refine. And as far as I am aware, they have then taken that idea and they've got something that's a bit more bespoke now. But as a nifty hack, that was something that was quite fun to make. And
that's so cool.
I thought so.
I think so too. I think people listening, those of you listening, comment if you think that's cool. I mean, what you said, Mitch, I would love to see. For one, I would love to be walked through the back end of. And I would just geek out about having the proper data points flowing, like the type of data you had to input. That's fantastic. You got there. It's so cool.
Well, like I say, it wasn't perfect. It was a good skateboard. It was a good minimum viable product, which has been taken away and refined as far as I'm aware. I've not spoken to those guys for a little bit. I might drop Conrad a message and see if they're using it or if they got something better in the end. I hope they got something better. Cool business though, a really cool idea with what they're doing. So then moving on from there, I kind of I just spent more time developing my processes for how we can take this notion of Bowtie Funnel and embed it in businesses. Every single time I took that idea and embedded bits of it in a business, I got better at doing it. I found shortcuts. I'd get inspiration from people that I speak to on the phone at HubSpot support when I tell a client that I know how to do something. Actually, I don't, but I know someone who does. And so I phone up HubSpot support, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. You can just do this. Cool. And then go back to the client, and they're so happy that they've gotten a solution. They don't necessarily know that I got it from. I did it in a way that they probably could have done by pressing the big purple help button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. I feel like a lot of people just forget that exists, and in many ways I'm happy because it's enabled me to make money. But it's also a bit of a time bandit as well, because it takes time away from you when you have to go and explain things to people and you say, hey, you know what? Just do us a favor and press that help button. There's people who know way more about this who aren't going to swear at you. You can chat to them, but for some reason they would rather they prefer to talk to me. And there's something, I suppose there's something inherently beautiful in that, but at the same time, I just wish they wouldn't sometimes.
So you have some more job security there that people like to hear from you and talk to you, and you take the time to actually find a answer, to find a solution to help them move their business forward. Cheers to you on that.
Oh, thank you, mate. Yeah, I guess I guess CRM admins of any kind, they're people that enjoy solving problems. You sort of have to be, otherwise you can't really do the job. And so when someone presents a problem to you, that's really exciting because that's go time. And I like that I know a tool well enough to be able to look at it and go, okay, well actually I know how to solve that problem. But then also sometimes when they bring me a problem that I don't know how to solve, that's also great too, because then it enables my learning. And I can go away and learn a new skill. Ops Hub actually is something that I've started to learn a little bit more about that I'd never used before and never really got. But yeah, I'm using that more and more now to do funky things with taking a date of one property and then using that to push out another date property by a set number of days. Like RevRec, for example, if a deal closes before X date in the month, I want to be able to estimate when we're going to start billing for that, so I can use that parameter to shift out the date of when I think that we're going to start billing for it. And before I was doing that with
now
Zapier,
you're talking our language. Yes.
Before I was doing that with Zapier, which was all right, but it was just a pain in the ass to have to manage another third-party platform. But in Ops Hub, I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. I love that data formatting feature. So that's stuff I'm learning more about chat flows and things like that, which I've never really had cause to learn that much about before. We were chatting just before we were recording this about this thing that my CTO brought to me earlier today to say, look, we really want to use HubSpot chat flows in our own proprietary customer-facing software rather than some other platforms that are available, because again, like we just want everything to be in one place as much as possible. We want that place to be HubSpot.
Right.
So learning a little bit more about that. I've done like basic chatbots on websites before, but never done one in like a proprietary like piece of SaaS that we sell as a product to our customers. So that's kind of cool. Adds like a new like fun dimension to it. And then Service Hub as well, something that I've never really had much of a call to use before. I've always done Service Hubby stuff with sales pipelines rather than with tickets. But actually now I see the beauty in being able to like not have a pipeline to do that, when I'm like, well, actually, why don't you use this ticketing system to do it? And like now it's like having those lovely light bulb moments where you think, I used to do it this way and I quite liked it, but actually I like that way more because it's a bit
beautiful.
More suitable. Yeah.
What an awesome person you are, Mitch, that the focus is look at this beautiful new thing of a way to do it better. You know, so often it's keep with the same. So often it's, but we already have, well, that would just change that. It's like, look at this beautiful new way we can do things so nicely and elegantly. And that's your focus. It's beautiful to hear. It just oozes out of you as you speak.
Thank you,
I
mate.
can't help but see it, man.
It's sort of the HubSpot way, I suppose, isn't it? Like, because they
right.
unleash, and like, by the way, this is not a sales pitch for HubSpot to everyone out there. Like, presumably you already love HubSpot because you're watching this podcast.
Go to the link in my bio.
Yeah, have you got like an affiliate? Have you got an affiliate program, Grant, for people on? Because like you'd make a killing. Anyway, like I think like it's sort of the HubSpot way because they're always like iterating and releasing new features. You've got the community functionality whereby people can say, "Hey, look, you can't do this in the HubSpot. This is making my life really hard. Can you please like get on and figure out how to do it?" And then you have like the village bearing their torches and pitchforks, going, "Yeah," like upvoting on things, saying, "Yeah, I need you to do that too. Why haven't you done it yet? Fuck's sake!" These sorts of things. And then HubSpot are like,
get on it.
Yeah, we'll do it. That sounds like a fantastic idea. And then you can like, I used to phone up my account manager to get included in betas and things like that. And now like you can do it through HubSpot Community as well, and you can do it through the interface, which is in itself is an awesome feature.
Genius.
So, yeah.
The ideas I think is so genius that they have the ideas forum. We often in Discord will post an idea. And then we'll post it and we'll link back and we'll say, go vote for my thing. We all need this.
Yeah.
It's so great to have a place where we can literally say, look, everyone's wanting this thing. They do a great job.
Yeah, I just getting on.
We were on
Discord.
Milestones.
We were, weren't we? Well, actually, I suppose Sprocketeer in itself is a milestone, and we were just about to talk about the Discord there. But I think, do you know what, that was... Weirdly, that was a bit of a milestone for me as well, I suppose, when I first saw that as HubSpot superadmin back in March of this year, because like I'd gotten myself into this sort of arrogance where I was like, I don't think there's anyone else in the world like me. I don't think there's anyone else who cares about this as much as I do. I don't think there's anyone else who studies this holistic idea as well as I do. And I'm like, I just got myself into this mindset where I was like, no, I'm like a unicorn. And then I found superadmin. I'm like, oh shit, no, there are people who are way better at this than me.
There's always a bigger bear.
Always. It was like, there's always someone who knows more kung fu. That's from a movie, isn't it? I don't know.
Yes.
but there's always a bigger fish. Qui-Gon Jinn, I think, was in the Phantom Menace. Yeah, like, and that's what I found with Sprocketeer. And like in the early days, I was like, wow, like I need to sit the hell down. Like I know nothing, like compared to a lot of these people. And so like, and that's a milestone for me. I was like, wow, like I've humbled myself a little bit, but actually I've just accessed this insane environment of learning that is, I mean, like I love the HubSpot community, but the Sprocketeer Discord is, it's so much more like live and dynamic and like at your fingertips. And I know I have a little bit of a problem with like the time zones because I know like you guys are US based, but I know I can like, I can write something in there and get an answer from another HubSpot dork quicker than if I'd like contacted my account manager or if I'd gone for like community or something like that. And it's more fun too, because it's there's something to be said for getting advice from someone that's independent, that doesn't, I mean, I love all the guys who work for HubSpot, but to get that advice from another user, there's something a bit more, it's almost like a referral, I suppose. It's like, it's almost worth more. It's like, I trust this person more than the company because they found like a cool, slick way of doing something. I mean, like Kyle Jepson's in there as well, and he's always throwing in gems too, but like, which I love.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm sure there are others as well that I'm not familiar with. Like Kyle's always been my guy. Like I put Kyle in some of like my own internal training presentations as well. Like I liken him to Yoda a lot of the time.
Agreed.
Yeah, because he doesn't look like him, but he has the same level of knowledge in terms of, you know, being the Jedi Master of using the tech.
He is.
So I think, yeah, like Sprocketeer is probably another milestone for me in terms of like access to a different kind of learning and people saying like, like you should probably learn how to use this feature a little bit better or do this, that and the other. And that's introduced me to all these people that are like me, better than me most of the time, but I didn't think existed before March of this year. Like I genuinely thought like, am I the saddest human being on the planet that I'm the only person who loves this stuff as much as this? Thousands of us, and yeah, I really like that.
Mitch, I was the same way.
No way.
That crazy. Like, am I out here all alone, nerding out, and does no one care? You know, I found a couple people that did, and then I was like, okay, well, there's a couple of us, I guess. And it felt so refreshing, those couple people, to know that they nerd out just as much as I do. They know more than I do about things that I can learn from. I want to know more. And then all of a sudden, like you, it's just ballooned. There are so many, actually. I was so wrong. There's not a few. There are so many. I was so happy.
Cool, isn't it? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I have a space, a place.
That's it. And actually, I think like I remember a message that you sent to me on LinkedIn shortly after I joined, which was like, yeah, I really want this to feel like a space where you where you belong, and like it absolutely does. And I know it's the same for so many other people who make their living solely with this one piece of software. And I think that in itself is also really, really cool. That it's sort of like being a modern day carpenter, but like a modern day carpenter who only makes one specific kind of chair, but digitally. And I just really like it, man. Like it's really cool. Like, at least I think it's really cool.
Okay, Mitch, talk to us about some people. So along the way, along your journey here, let's go back from the beginning to the end, or whoever just stands out. You've mentioned Kyle a few times. You've mentioned a couple other people. Can you tell us the story of some of the people you're grateful for to have come across in your HubSpot journey?
100%. Yeah. So I think probably the first person that stands out is a guy called John Sargent, who is the founder of ThinkVen, which is a business that I do some consulting for on HubSpot from time to time when something interesting pops up. I don't do it so much anymore because I'm now in a position where I've got a wonderful job where I'm able to give my family the standard of life that I feel they deserve, and I don't need to hustle as much anymore, blessedly. But like from time to time, I'll do. Thank you, mate. Like from time to time, I'll do some consulting work there. But anyway, like John was the hiring manager at Blenheim Chalcott, and I blagged my way into that job. There's no two ways about it. But he sort of like we just struck up like a really, really strong friendship, and just worked very, very well together. And he gave me the time and had the grace to allow me to make mistakes in my early days. But trying to teach these like up and coming, like really, really cool businesses how to use a piece of tech that they had purchased that actually I didn't really know how to use myself just yet. And he like had the, like I say, he had the grace to allow me to do that. Another person, so there's a guy called Ed Abel, who was CMO of Modular Finance, who was one of the businesses in the Glen Chalcott portfolio I did a lot of work with. He helped me to understand what it was that I wanted to be, what I wanted to achieve. Like always great for bouncing ideas off of. He was someone that helped me to understand like visualizing things in Lucidchart and using that as a map to get you to where you need to be. And like, I still chat to him from time to time now as well. He has his own business helping startups sort out their go-to-market and growth strategies now. Conrad Whitty, another person, and his wife Abby, who run Instrumental. So Conrad was the person who first turned me on to this idea of Bowtie Funnel, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna read about that, and then that's when I had my Bowtie Funnel. That's when I had my epiphany around it, and thought, well, this is a really, really, really powerful way of taking terminology that senior leadership people understand and overlaying it into a platform which uses terminology which they probably don't understand. Like they don't understand SQL, MQL, opportunity, customer evangelist. They understand the Bowtie Funnel tenants. So helping to embed that. And actually, HubSpot have kind of shafted me a bit here, because now that you can rename lifecycle stages, like a lot of that just goes out the window. But like, I mean, this is years ago now, so
you can now customize them.
Yeah, and I'm like,
right.
I mean, that's great, guys, but like, I was making money doing that, you bastards. But no, it's great. I'm kidding. It's great functionality. So Conrad Withy, also someone, and his wife Abby, who really helped me out to realize that. They also gave me the computer that I'm using to talk to you on as well. When I left that business, so like, look, you can keep the computer and the monitor, and I'm using those to this day. So they're lovely people and help me to
Thanks,
again
Conrad.
Understand.
Thanks, Abby.
Cheers, Conrad and Abby. Thank you. They helped me to understand what it was that I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. Who else? Yeah, Kyle Jepson, undoubtedly someone that was always like my go-to. I don't know him really. Like I'll message him and that. Like, but I'm not. We're not on each other's Christmas card lists or nothing. So I learn a lot from his videos and his content. I always find out about the new stuff from his LinkedIn, like many others do.
Yeah.
Eamon Doheny, who was my account manager whilst I was at Blenheim Chalcott. He works on agency partner sales. Really, really cool guy. Like having conversations with him. When I was looking for work and I was out of work and struggling to pay my mortgage and look after my wife and my daughter, he put me in touch with a lot of people saying, look, like people like you, Mitch, are quite hard to find. People who know HubSpot are difficult to find, and he put me in contact with like a bunch of different agencies and picked up a little bit of work so I could feed my family ultimately in a time that was very, very difficult, that many of us had during COVID with that period of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Well, you in the Sprocketeer community, I think, Grant, to an extent, like it's sort of unlocked like another level of people that I didn't know existed.
Thanks,
that I am like, and it's that's enabled my learning and development certainly this year in quite a big way. That got a bit deep. That got a bit too sincere, didn't it?
Yeah, demean me. Say something rude. That'd be.
I don't think I've got it in me, Grant. To be honest with you,
I super respect you. I mean, you gave a clear list with clear reasoning behind each one. John, Ed, Conrad, and Abby, Kyle, Eamon, me, and you have things that have happened, and you can recall them and talk through the story of them. You have the people in your life that helped you along the way get there. It seems like the intentionality, Mitch, for you is paramount, because as you're saying these things and responding, there's kind of this genuine nature about the way you respond. So I'm getting deep, so I'm going to stop.
But there's,
Thank you for
just
being
on
that way.
It's
fantastic.
Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate it. And like, same to you. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that, like, and I think the same is with you. Like, having a bit of purpose just does help you to do some amazing things. There is another person that I wanted to talk about who has absolutely nothing to do with HubSpot, by the way, but it's just someone who has helped me enable my life, and that's my old boxing coach, a guy called Duke McKenzie, MBE, former 3-weight world champion. I think there's only 2 British people who have ever been able to do that. And Duke sort of he took me under his wing. I boxed with him, learned with him, and like I feel like I learned more from him about how to be a good man in all aspects of your life, be it work, your family life, your hobbies and pursuits. And like his way of thinking, his mentality is something that I've tried to carry forward into, even on a macro level, how I talk to people and engineer HubSpot instances for people. So I owe a lot to him as well, certainly.
Thanks, Duke. Thanks for all you did. You helped produce a great man here. All right, Mitch, we're gonna switch over. I'm saying it. You didn't say it. I did. All right, Mitch 2032, 10 years from right now, which we only actually have a month, but Mitch 2032, what is he doing? What is he saying? If he's here in this conversation, what does he say to you? What does he remind you? Tell us what that conversation is like.
Well, I mean, firstly, Mitch 2032 sounds like a presidential campaign. Not a very good one either.
We're here to announce.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it's the right Mitch. I'll leave that there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get you in trouble. Like, just roll a hand grenade into your podcast and walk away.
No.
Own the libs. Anyway, so Mitch 2032. You're gonna have to cut that. So Mitch 2032. So do you know what? I think that, like, as much as I love HubSpot, and like genuinely I do, it's going to be my go-to platform. I own shares in HubSpot. Like, I freely admit that to anyone. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like where I want my career to go is probably more into a CRO, a chief revenue officer role, and then, like, God willing, if I'm competent enough, that of a chief executive one day perhaps. And in order to do that, I feel like where that's going to take me is take me from this grounding of this Bowtie Funnel methodology, which actually is tech agnostic, and it should be tech agnostic. That methodology should be. You should be able to take that concept and enable any team anywhere with any piece of tech, be it any of the big CRM marketing automation platforms. You know them all. Like, some are great, some are shite.
Yep.
Whatever. So I think, like, where I want my career to take me then is into this environment of being like, I have a set of tools that I love and that I would always recommend people use, but actually coming from more of a place of, like, saying the best system is the system that's configured the best. The best way that I have found to configure a system is using this methodology. I hope to be doing that in 2032, if I'm not, like, if I haven't won the lottery and retired and I'm just, like, hanging out with what will be a 13-year-old daughter. No, fuck that. No, I'm going to be working.
Yeah.
Like,
She's
do I want to hang out with a 13-year-old girl? Yeah, like, she's not going to want to spend. She's not going to want to. When my little girl's 13, she's not going to want to hang out with a 44-year-old man. I will be 44. Yeah.
The lottery here was like it was nearly $2 billion last week.
Jesus Christ!
So,
it's almost too much
get
money,
on that
isn't
train.
it? It's almost too much money. Like, what do you do? Like, literally anything. Like, you could leave. You could, like.
Yeah.
I don't even.
So
if you gave me $2 million,
lottery.
I genuinely do not know what I'd be able to. I couldn't tell you what I would do with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were given £2 million or US dollar, either way, invest that. You can live off the interest. Now you just volunteer and enjoy your family.
Yeah, exactly that. Pay off your mortgage, like and then just get on the gravy train. That's pretty much it.
Then play music. Then strike back up your music career.
Well, do you know? Actually, I think what I would probably do actually is your volunteering thing. I'd spend time volunteering at our local boxing gym here, and I'd probably do my qualifications in like training and spending time with kids, because I've just seen the benefit that sport has with people. So yeah, like we've gone off topic a little bit, but yeah, I think that's probably what I'd do if you gave me £2 million, probably. Yeah.
Love it. All right. You heard the announcement here first. Mitch 2032, he'll be running for some office.
Let's make it happen.
We're kidding. All right, Mitch, for those listening who want to reach out, where can they find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Probably LinkedIn, I would say, or on the Sprocketeer Discord. I don't use Facebook anymore. I don't think many people do they? Definitely don't use Twitter. Not now. Fuck me.
Now.
Yeah. So probably.
All right. So head over
LinkedIn.
to LinkedIn and search Mitch Richards.
Yeah.
Tell him that you heard him on the Sprocketeer podcast, and that you will vote for him in his runoff.
Yeah, like if only if I was American, actually, like I'd probably be like, yeah, I can do it. But
I get a chance.
I could be governor, can't I? Like Schwarzenegger wasn't born in the States. I could be a governor, but I don't think I could be president. Right? Is that?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool.
Governor.
Well, like,
yeah.
Governor of like Wyoming or something.
Yeah. A beautiful scenery. You have to be in your state. You have to just live in the mountains.
Well, I was sort of thinking like there's less people there, so I think it's easier to influence a smaller group of people to do something than it is to influence a wider group. So I thought like Wyoming might be the only chance that I get.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mitch, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, mate. No, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It's been loads of fun.
All right, Sprocketeers, thanks for listening, and until next time, spinny spinny.